That's
Hello, everybody. This is the weekly edition of Sports Opinion, the sports talk show on Public Access Channel 18 in Iowa City. If we look and sound a little different today, that's because I'm Pat White rather than Dirk Keller, who's a little bit under the weather. And I'm pinch hitting for him today as your moderator. With me are thankfully, the normal panelists. On my immediate right, Bob Boyd. On my immediate left, Earle Murphy. And on the far left, Bud Suepple.
I have to correct you already, Pat. There's nothing normal about us three guys. You know?
All right.
We're abnormal.
I'm crippled and you can't see.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, we're all old.
yeah, that's right. We're all old and experienced.
But I've got a couple of people in my family who describe this show as four old men sitting around telling stories. But let's start with the only place to start today is in Kinnick Stadium last Saturday with Iowa's overtime win over Northwestern. And I thought what I would do to start us off is ask each of you, we'll start with Bob, where you were and what your impression is and what the key moment to you was in the Hawkeyes win.
Well, I think everybody knew that to have a chance at a bowl game and at least a 6+ game winning season, that this was a must game for the Hawkeyes to win. Going in, I reluctantly felt a little bit of confidence because, you know, we were kind of due. I mean, Northwestern had beaten us 6 out of the last 8 games, and I believe the last 3 times they played us in Kinnick. And all of those were very close games with the exception of one. And I just felt like, you know, it was our turn to have a little good luck. And, gosh, I felt pretty good. We got off to that 10-0 lead, went down there and scored first with a real nice drive. And, you know, we didn't get really defensive, I guess. Both sides of the ball were playing well. But, gosh, again, it was that second half. It seems like, you know, the second half we're just not as aggressive, and that worried me a little bit. But then when Northwestern came back and tied it 10-10, I think we were all getting a little bit worried.
Do you think we were cooked?
I thought we were gonna blow it, and then, you know, thank goodness to a key penalty on Northwestern, and the very next play, Trumpy, their tailback, fumbled the ball, and of course, Kane Coulter got hurt, and then we got a little bit lucky, I think.
Could you tell what his injury was?
Well, no, but I listened to the radio. I had my Walkman on, and initially Dolphin and Pogolak thought, I guess it might have been that he re-injured his ankle, perhaps. But as it turned out, the radio said, I guess it was Rob Brooks, when Kane Coulter came back in, that he had hurt his hand on the tackle.
So he got hit on the hand.
Yeah.
But they retaped his ankle while he was out.
So did they?
What do you think the key play was?
Well, I think the key play was a fumble recovery, and then we got the ball, and I thought, you know, we might get that first down, and Jake Rudock, you know, threw the interception with whatever it was, 10 seconds left. We weren't going to get hurt. But I thought we were probably going to get a first down, maybe at the 25, and kick a field goal and win the game.
Yeah. Sounded like that was Kirk's plan.
Yeah, I think that was their plan. And then, of course, the overtime, I was hoping that we would get the ball second, because that's usually to your advantage, knowing what you have to score. And what do? We get the ball right away. And, gosh, get the 7 points. But that play from Rudock to Fedorowicz was apparently a play they'd worked on all week.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear that.
It had to be a perfect throw. I've got to wonder, you know, I think that's a situation where Jake might have been thrown to a spot, knowing the coverage, because do you guys think he could see that? I mean, he was rushed.
He couldn't see.
Threw it off his back foot, right?
Yeah, couldn't see very much.
Yeah.
There was a guy right in his face.
So I thought it was a heck of a play, and I thought it was about time that Iowa had a little good luck at the end of a game, and that was a big victory for the Hawks. And I think because of that victory, and they are getting better every game, and this is a better team than last year, I think, you know, we've got a chance in the 4 remaining games, a very good chance to, you know, we could win all of them, we could split, but we're going to win some more games, I think.
Earl,
Oh,
what'd you
Bob-
think?
I think Bob's right. They moved us up to 5. I don't know what it means, but they had Ohio State #1. The Michigans were in there, 2 and 3 or something. And Wisconsin is in there, and then the 5th one was Iowa.
Mhm.
And that made me feel good. In regards to
Do you know who Tom Dienhart is, the analyst with the Big Ten Network?
no,
He does bowl projections on a column every week.
Yeah,
He's got us slotted for the Gator Bowl on January 1st.
is
Really?
that right?
Unbelievable.
Wow.
I hope so.
what do we have to win, Pat, to get there? 2
Well,
more?
we got to win at least 2 more, maybe
Three. Yeah.
3 more. But he's got us in 5th place in the Big Ten. But that's what his projection is.
That one play to Fedorowicz, which was a thing of beauty. I called the play. The only play I've ever called, and I was
Not the
right.
only one now.
I turned to Louise and I said, "Do you know what?" And she says, "No, I did not come from you." And I said, "I called that play," and I said, and I did, because I think that I think he can outrun the defensive man on that.
Yeah.
The offensive man has an advantage.
Well, and
That
at the,
6'7" tight end. Is
down
better
at the
than-
goal line,
Yeah.
his height gives him a tremendous
my God.
advantage. That's
That's
where he
right.
scored.
Yeah.
They throw the ball up.
That's right.
And
They practiced that, and he
Yeah.
knew where to throw it, and he threw it right into the corner.
Now, part of that play was, I think Damon Powell was for that play, and Manley they were both outside of him, and they both went down into the end zone and came right, which drew Northwestern defenders. So there's only one guy to cover Fedorowicz, and Fedorowicz has got a half a foot on
Oh,
him.
yeah.
Boy, he's big.
Yes.
Well, and then was it against Ohio State where it looked like Rudock was throwing the ball away in the back of the end zone,
Yeah.
and that 6'7" frame jumped up and caught a touchdown pass?
Well, in fact, Dolph,
Yeah.
I listened to the replay that night. That was his call on that
Oh,
pass.
it was, yeah.
He said, Rudock throws it away. No!
That's right. I remember that.
He
Hearing
said,
that. Yeah.
No, Fedorowicz caught it.
Catches
for
the
a
ball.
touchdown." Yeah, he described a throwaway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bud, what did you think was the key?
Well, I thought the big key was the defense after we scored.
It was neat.
That quarterback didn't go anywhere.
No.
No, we picked
Well,
up,
I
what,
don't
10
know.
yards?
They tackled him. He had been about 8 yards behind that. So
Yeah, but I thought that was just great, the way the defense come out and played after the touchdown.
That's true. Yeah, they did a great job.
One of the things that was so neat is the way the team came alive. As soon as they took the field for the overtime, the team is jumping up and down,
Yeah.
yelling. And I think that was part of what ignited the crowd. And
Yeah.
the crowd,
Yes.
I mean, the volume in that stadium was as much
Yeah.
as I've ever heard.
yeah.
And that made a difference, I think. It fired up the offense, fired up the defense.
Well, the other thing they said, too, on the radio coverage was in overtime games, the Hawks are 6-3. And in Kinnick, we've won 2 and lost 1, counting the game on Saturday against Northwestern. I guess, you know, those are statistics you kind of forget, and they remind you of those things, but that's certainly, that's a pretty good record. And it was just tremendous. I mean, boy, does that change the mood for the season. We were
Doesn't
all
it?
worried about a bowl game. Now we have a very good shot. And this coaching staff and the team, they need that shot.
Well, the changes to the coaching staff have clearly made a difference.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bobby Kennedy, I mean, the whole signal play calling system is different. Bobby Kennedy is now flashing
Yeah.
the calls in along with DJ Hernandez and CJ Beathard. And I think Kennedy does most of the true play calling, but they switch occasionally to so the other team doesn't pick up who's calling what.
There was one play late in the game where the whole team was looking over there.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
they all do. The offensive
Yeah, but
line and
this
the
was
receivers.
different. They were really intent. I know what you're going to say.
I think the signaling system has a signal for each of the components, for the offensive line,
Mhm.
for the receivers, and for the quarterback and the backs.
Yeah.
Although part of the personnel package dictates what the options are. They make that decision on the sideline and send it in.
Do they aren't it's obvious, but the defense must call some of the plays, don't they? From the sidelines.
Well, I think I don't know if they have sideline signals for the defense or not.
I think the linebackers.
James Morris
Yes,
calls the
uh-huh,
plays.
yes.
Now, whether he gets signals from the sideline, I don't know.
Well, and you brought up a good point there, Pat, about the coaching changes. You know, we wondered about them last year because it didn't seem to do much good. But for those that aren't familiar, that Greg Davis, the offensive coordinator that came in last year, and the kids did struggle with his new system apparently. But this Bobby Kennedy,
They certainly struggled with something.
yeah, but this Bobby Kennedy worked with Greg Davis at the University of Texas for, 7 or 8 years. And you're right. I mean, you can tell the difference. And it seems like to me that we have more receivers every game involved than we did last year. I mean, you've got, 8 or 9 guys catching balls every week.
Now, how much of that is because there's a parity, arguably even a level of mediocrity among receivers, and how much of it is the way the offense is diversified? I don't know, but
Or how
here's
much of it is Jake Rudock?
right. Here's and as an example of Rudock looking not just at one receiver, but that play in overtime to, I think it was our first offensive play to he threw to Tavon Smith.
Yeah.
Fedorowicz was actually his first target.
Right.
And he looked at Fedorowicz, decided that he was covered, and looked to his right, threw to Tavon. I think there were several keys in the overtime, and that pass was one because Smith turned and gained about 10 yards after that pass.
Yeah.
Right.
Was a great run.
And they're thrown to the.
It was a 15-yard gain. Wasn't
Yeah.
it? It was
Got a-
the 25-yard line down to the 11.
Got a first down and moved it in.
But from the beginning to the end, to me, it was our defense. Northwestern has scored a lot of points this year.
And they've had a lot of success against our defense in the last 6 or 8 years.
I assume, Bud, you were in Evanston last year.
Yes.
Calder would fake into the middle and then run around
That's
end, or fake around end and run up the middle. And one of the people that got burned time after time was Drew Ott. Last year at Northwestern was the game they took the red shirt off him,
Yeah.
and he was like a babe in the woods.
Right.
I mean, you could see he had talent. And this year, Calder didn't get around him. He contained him.
Staying home.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
another thing, they're bringing our tight ends into play.
Yeah.
I love that 3 tight end
Yeah.
offense.
Right.
Take that,
Yeah.
Iowa fans.
Well, we've got a lot of good tight ends.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
And-
boy, do we. About 4 of them.
And there are a couple freshmen redshirting who are going to be
Yes.
pretty good. Ike Botker from Cedar Falls.
Cedar
and
Falls.
John Wisniewski from,
Yeah.
is it Valley or Dowling? Dowling, I
Dowling.
think he played.
Well, the only tight end I think we lose and we gain what you're talking about, is Fedorowicz. And it's interesting to me, last year he had 2/3 of his receptions in the last 6 games.
Yeah.
And we lost all of those games, by the way. This year, it seems like, again, the second half of the season, here he comes. Kind of started with the Ohio State game. And that's a good thing. I mean,
That's very good.
yeah.
And some of the credit for tight ends' growth has to go to DJ Hernandez.
Yeah.
That would be a very awkward situation to have your brother in prison.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
the media has been pretty understanding that
Yes.
he's not involved in that and leave him alone. But it's very unusual for a graduate
Yeah.
assistant to be a position coach, helping signal the plays in, and the tight ends have become one of your primary offensive weapons. So he's done a great job.
He's done a very good job, and by the way, I'm sure that you were quarterback club, Monday morning quarterback, a couple of weeks ago when he came
That
to
was-
speak for the football team. I thought he did a terrific
He
job.
did. You know,
Yeah.
we've had 3 graduate assistants.
Yeah.
They've all been very well spoken,
Very
very
well,
knowledgeable, very articulate.
Yeah, and the fun time is when we start asking the questions.
Oh, it
at the
is.
end from the audience. And they handled it pretty well, you know.
That was one of the, last week was one of the, no, 2 weeks ago. The first question was asked, was before that even came up, was what happened to Iowa State?
Yeah. I love that.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty clever.
That is a good question.
Um,
1 and 6 or whatever they are now.
We're
Gosh.
talking about the defense against Northwestern. I want to mention a couple of guys, particularly in overtime, who I think made key plays. One of them is the true freshman right cornerback, Desmond King from
Yes.
Detroit,
Mhm.
who recovered the fumble you were talking about.
Yes.
But in overtime, Calder threw a pass to the east sideline that would have been complete for a first down, and King just hit him square in the
Right.
middle, coming on straight and knocked the ball loose. Made a big difference.
He's played really well.
Yes.
He has. Well,
Yeah.
Jordan Lomax, who started the season at the starting right cornerback and then hurt his hamstring, is what King
Brought him in.
brought
He
him
got
in.
hurt in the first game against Northern Illinois,
Right.
didn't he? Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to win his job back.
Yeah.
And they've actually moved him over to the backup left cornerback, where B.J. Lowry is still having some trouble letting people get behind him.
Yeah.
But the other player on the very last play, and I think this typifies the way he plays, Louis Trinka-Passat made a tremendous play. He's playing defensive tackle. The ball is snapped to Calder. He penetrates, just misses Sack and Calder, and he's face down on his stomach, face into the ground, while Calder's off to the
Yeah, right.
Running
west side
around.
of the field.
Yeah.
Trinka-Passat gets up, chases him, and just hammers him into the ground over near the sideline to end the game.
And the game, yes.
And Calder's buried under Trinka-Passat, and the players are swarming Trinka-Passat, and Calder is laying there under about 50 Hawkeye cleats. So wonder he didn't get.
Now, I did see
Good
Calder
way to end that game,
go
wasn't
over
it?
and shake Jake's hand.
Well, I think Calder's an impressive guy.
Yeah, because he went over and shook his hand and patted him on the back.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we.
Well, that's a class act. Yeah.
Well, we don't have, our quarterback's not too bad.
Well, he's
Yeah.
had a
Not
heck
too
of
bad.
a year.
Oh,
He's
And
a
he-
pretty cool customer, Rudock.
yes,
He's amazing, and you see him interviewed after the game
and he's
on
intelligent.
Tuesdays.
Did you
Smart.
see him interviewed last night on the Big Ten Network?
No, I missed that.
The announcer asked him, now, what are you taking in school? Before he got to the announcer, says, that's enough.
Yeah.
Let's go back to football.
We can't comprehend those kind of courses.
It was really good.
I heard, I
Yeah.
forget what the course was, but one of the Iowa reporters did the same thing. They said, now everybody talks about how smart you are. What is it that you're taking? And he reeled off a couple of courses, and he said, I couldn't even spell what they were.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Well, I was talking to Mike Seelig, who's an ex-Iowa City quarterback, a week ago, and I said, Mike, what is it that impresses you about Jake Rudock? And he said, the way he reads defenses and handles the line of scrimmage. That's simple, you know. For a redshirt sophomore, he does a great job.
Maybe we should have started last year.
Yeah, that's come up a few times.
Should have at
hasn't
least
it?
put him in the game.
Yeah.
We
Give him
should
some
have played a little
experience.
bit. Why not?
Oh, well.
But that's
Well, we're a very young team.
yeah.
We really have some young players.
I gotta ask you a question. It seems to me that we're a lot faster on both sides of the
Oh,
ball.
I do
Both
too.
sides of the ball.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. And Greg Davis, when he was here, I think the first spring practice he was here, and somebody had asked him what our biggest need was, he said more speed.
That's right. That's right.
And I think we've recruited
Yes.
some more.
Yes.
And I think that's why King is starting. He's faster. Damon Powell obviously is faster.
Yeah.
And my gosh, he can catch.
Yes.
Now let me ask you this about Powell. He played junior college ball. Was he there 1 year or two? Is he a sophomore eligibility wise?
No, he's a junior.
He's a junior,
I
so he
think
only
he
has
could.
next season left.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Now-
that's great.
We're a young team, as Buddy alluded to, going into next year, but wow, look at James Morris,
You know,
Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten for the second week this season. Our linebackers are doing an excellent job, and Morris and Kersey and Hitchens, and wow, those are the guys we're going to have to replace for next
And
year.
who's the guy from Chicago that comes in?
Reggie Spearman.
Yeah,
Love him. He is quick.
Yes, he is. Quick.
He's a linebacker,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
now listed at second team linebacker on the depth chart. They put him in, I think it's 3 weeks now, they put him in on the kickoff team. Then the next week, he was on both the kickoff and the kickoff receiving team.
yeah.
And now he's in the two deep and in that special package where they put him in at defensive end.
Yeah.
And
Well,
he
what
was
amazes me is he just turned 17
Yeah.
in September.
Yeah, he was 16 when he arrived,
That's amazing.
walked into the Iowa football locker room.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're starting 3 senior linebackers, but I think the linebacking position next year will be in good hands.
Well, we know Spearman will be solid. What do you think?
Quentin
we have?
Alston,
Okay.
who's now a junior and
Yeah.
was in that package we used on third downs. All year long, we've been putting in on third down Nate Meyer at a defensive end, taking Alvis out, and Draper as a fifth back, taking out one of the linebackers, 31,
Kersey or Hitchens.
Hitchens.
Yeah.
And Draper kept getting beat, missing tackles and getting beat. And so we'll see what happens against Wisconsin. Kirk has said that package was designed for a scrambling running quarterback like Calder, which is not Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's got.
Thank goodness we don't play another one of those.
Wisconsin has recruited one of our players that said he was from to Iowa, Gordon, and he's fast.
Yeah, he's very fast. Before we need to talk about Wisconsin, but Morris is not only the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week, he's the national
Yes.
lot impact Player of the Week.
Oh.
I'm not entirely familiar with the lot impact Player of the Week, but I do know that it's an award based on playing ability and on character.
Oh. Really? I didn't know that.
Impact stands for something. It starts with integrity, motivation. I forget what the other initials are, but that's quite an honor. And there are like 20 or 30 nominees for this annual national award, and he's one of them.
Okay.
He got named as
Wow. Didn't realize that.
Player of the Week.
He talks well.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
he too is a bright guy.
Yes.
Although his dad seems to think he wants to be a lawyer, which seems to call into question how bright he
Yeah.
is.
Shaky profession, Pat.
Yeah. Here's a couple of things that statistically are still amazing. We've led all 8 games at halftime.
Yeah.
Now that means it's actually arguable. We could even be 8-0.
That's right.
We've led every game at halftime. We haven't played anybody who was noticeably better than us. Although, I mean, you can argue that Michigan State and Ohio State are both better than us. You certainly wouldn't argue that
Ohio State.
Northern Illinois is.
Well,
But the three teams that have beat us are 23-1.
yes. After 8 games.
This,
First-
is,
mean,
this
that-
is what the guy on the Big Ten Network, he says, I think they should be higher than 5. He says, look at this, and he showed the score. Evidently, we were tied with Ohio State at the end of three quarters,
We
so
were.
it was the fourth quarter
That's
that
right.
killed us.
After that doozy 85-yard touchdown.
Yeah,
But it's also arguable that at this point, the other coaching staffs are making better halftime adjustments. If you look at our statistics in the second half, and these last 3 weeks especially, we're way behind. And
Yeah,
I
we
don't
are.
know why that is, what's happening, but if we could play a second half like our first halves,
Or like
It'd be
we
tough to
played,
beat.
like we played in overtime Saturday.
yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean,
well, every week we've been getting better and better and
True,
better. And
yeah.
I think it's gonna go on this way.
You got somebody, the winning touchdown, I mean, losing touchdown, the guy didn't make it. But how much further did he had to run to make it? They keep the ball.
You mean
Which
they,
play?
The last play of the game, in overtime,
Oh, he was Trinket Passat tackled him
yes?
22 or 23-yard line. He was a long ways from
Okay.
the end zone.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, our defense was so
Yeah,
strong.
he was not much.
Almost like they ever were.
I thought that was closer than that.
Well,
No.
and I think he was hanging behind the line of scrimmage, hoping some receiver would break
Okay.
open and he could still
Yeah.
throw the
Yeah.
ball.
You know, you could make an argument that Trinket Passat may have played the best defense of anybody in that defense all year.
He has been tough. Carl
He's been
Davis
tough.
has been
Carl
tough.
Davis.
Yeah,
has been
Carl
tough.
Davis, yeah.
And one of the ironies Saturday is Alvis is hurt and he's going to miss the Wisconsin game again.
Yeah,
And the guy who's taken his place, Mike Hardy, is
Yeah,
from Wisconsin.
Yes,
yeah.
That's what I
I
like.
think that's neat.
I do too.
And Hardy's a junior, and he's been playing
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
In Albus's absence, is Albus a senior?
Alvis is a senior.
Is he the only senior on that defensive
Yes.
line? That's
Yeah.
what I thought, yeah.
All of the backups are underclassmen as well.
Okay.
Darian Cooper, who plays backs up Trinket Passat and Davis, is just a sophomore.
Yeah.
Nate Meyer, who plays some defensive end, is just a sophomore.
Where's he from?
He's from Tabor, Iowa.
Yeah,
Played 8-man football.
Okay,
that's
okay.
something.
And I mean, one of the things, this is going to sound critical of the coach's decision making, and I guess it is critical of him. But they blew his redshirt year last year, playing him on the kickoff team in one game.
I know.
That was it.
Huh.
He
I don't
played in
understand
spring
that, right.
practice. He was playing running back, partly because everybody was hurt, and then they moved him to linebacker for a little bit, and ultimately to defensive end, where they've been using him this year as a pass rusher. And boy, he must have a motor because he's
Oh, boy.
he's charging in
That's
there.
not the first time we've blown a red shirt.
But this
in a
one here
one-game
only let him play
situation.
one time. That's what got me
very
last
sad.
year, one time.
I
on
was
kickoff.
beginning to think
Right.
we were making the same mistake with LaShawn Daniels, but
Yes.
we've been playing him a little bit.
Yeah.
I continue to think Wiseman has an injury.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody keeps asking. He
Yeah,
keeps saying he's fine. Kirk keeps saying he's fine. But I think what it is there's something wrong with
The
an
shoulder.
arm or a shoulder.
Shoulder, I think it's a
that
shoulder.
when the game starts, he's fine.
Yeah,
But he takes a couple jolts and re-aggravates.
Jolts,
whatever it is.
or he puts that shoulder down and goes into him too.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, okay.
He's-
he
yeah.
didn't.
he's
I-
hitting
I think
people.
it's his shoulder, don't
I
you?
do too.
It's
He only
something.
had a few carries in the second half, and then he came in the overtime, and didn't he have 2 4-yard runs?
Yeah.
Which were key, and then we got the 5-yard procedure penalty. But yeah, I agree with you. But I heard Eddie Pogolak talk about LaShawn Daniels, and he said that before his career is over, we're going to remember him. He's
Yeah.
going to be a real good back.
Yeah, he's reminiscent
stays
of
healthy.
Sean Green, and Sean
Yeah.
Green really didn't produce
That's
until
right.
his last year.
Last year, that's right. Yeah.
This young man's got a lot of those skills. We've actually got too many running backs at the moment. It's a strange situation to be in.
Yeah,
we
Cansari's not playing.
we know
much, yeah.
Canzari's not a bad back, but they put him in on kickoff
Yeah.
Sunday, and he actually returned 2 kickoffs. And it may be that they felt, we got to find a way to give him
Play
some
him,
time on the
yeah.
field.
I agree.
But last year, at the open practice in August, 2 weeks before the season started, Barkley Hill was this close to being the starting running back, and he got hurt.
Yeah.
And right now, he would be 5th string.
But he hasn't played yet either.
No.
So this
But-
is going to be a red shirt.
Well, he redshirted last year after he blew the knee out.
Oh, so he got the
So-
medical red shirt?
No, I don't know if it's medical or not, but to get a medical red
Oh.
shirt, you really have to have a couple of injuries. One ACL is not going to get you another year. So
Okay.
I think he's using up a year of eligibility this year, which is okay. If he's healthy when he
Well,
comes back.
So, do you have written down there someplace, the feelings between the coaches?
No, but that's an interesting issue, as and Kirk actually got asked about it this week.
He did?
Yeah, and I was surprised to hear him say that they could do away with all of that as far as he's concerned. Even before the game,
Yes.
the 2 coaches meet in the center of the field while the teams are warming up, and they're always swarmed by photographers, and you almost always see the picture of the 2 opposing coaches talking or shaking hands. Kirk says, as far as I'm concerned, we could do away with that. I really feel awkward making small talk with the opposing coach because he's thinking about the same thing I'm thinking about, which is wanting to beat you.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to think about the game and how we're going to
Yeah,
win.
yeah.
I don't want to be out there saying it's nice to see you. I
Yeah.
hope you had a good trip.
But,
I agree with that. I mean, yeah,
but
waste of time.
they showed Kirk and Ohio State coach.
Urban Meyer. That was what I call a flyby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just barely touched hands as the.
And the next week, that was the same thing.
Yeah.
against
O'Brien did the same
O'Brien.
thing to Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Just-
I'd rather have Kirk grab his hand and take him to his knees.
Why'd you tell Kirk that?
Kirk would never do that.
No, I know he wouldn't. Yeah, Kirk's too classy
He's
to
a
do
classic guy.
that. Yeah.
I think it's going to get worse.
Oh, I do
Yeah,
too.
Because
Yeah.
I think that the Ohio State game is really not. We're playing Ohio there, Ohio State there. That they got an advantage. They bend the rules. What you think?
I don't know.
Well, the good news
They
is,
sure
Murph, we
recruit
don't
good
have to play him for several years.
Till
Ohio
year,
State now.
2017, isn't it?
I
Yeah,
think
the
it's
earliest.
17, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't think they were too good to Penn State either.
No,
I
You
think
think
they
they ran
poured
the
it
score
all.
up?
Yeah.
I think.
In Urban Meyer's defense of, quote, running the score up, if he did, you know, if your goal is the national championship game, and his goal is the
Right.
national championship game, it would appear that some people who vote in that poll would be impressed by your score. That the bigger the margin of
They're
victory,
not much
Does it
of
work the
a,
other way?
I don't know.
they're not much of a writer then, I feel.
Well, I think a lot of them are
Now,
not.
he tried to get another score against Iowa. And I
Yeah.
seen somebody else go up and talk to him, and when he come back out, they took a knee.
Yeah.
The last
Of
two
course, we
plays.
were only 10 points down. We were within 2 scores.
Yeah, but there was only something like 13, 14 seconds.
You know, talking about coaches and decisions, the class award in that regard goes to Andy Reid of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, they're ahead by 1 point, and they recover a fumble on the other teams. I forget now who they were playing. 1 yard line. He took a knee.
For the last two
That is
plays or
fast.
something, yeah.
See, Marv Cook's the same way. And I thought he was too generous down in Sigourney
Yeah.
because it's only 19 and up.
You know-
But he is. He's very, very generous about that.
One of the other aspects of this scoring at the end of the game that's actually kind of depressing when you hear about it, and this figure comes out of the Ohio State Northwestern game, where Northwestern had the ball on the last play and was lateral, and the ball came
Yeah.
loose and ended up in the end zone, and Ohio State fell on it, which is a very natural thing to do.
Sure.
So they get 6 more points. Well, somebody reported that game-ending touchdown, 6 points for Ohio State, made a $34 million difference in Las Vegas.
That did.
Yeah, it
that's
did.
true.
That was in the
Yeah.
news, yeah.
Oh my goodness
Yeah.
gracious! So you know,
Vegas,
there.
now, the good news is Vegas lost 34 million.
I mean, but
It was on their loss.
that illustrates. There are people who don't want you to take a knee,
Yeah.
or who conversely
right.
who
Right.
do.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. on
Trust me,
that.
when Andy Reid took that knee and he was 1 yard away,
Oh.
there were some people watching TV that was going, "Oh, I lost $1,000, or I won 1,000."
Much larger than that.
But I think it's too bad that you have to take the top 10 teams and run up the score to stay there.
Yeah.
Well,
You
see,
know what I mean?
That's exactly why the BCS needs a playoff. Okay. And yeah, we're going to start a year from now with a 4-team playoff. It probably ought to be an 8-team playoff because then nobody has to worry about maybe running up the score. Those top 8 teams are going to get there in the playoffs. I mean, to show their wares, to see how good they are if they're good enough to win the national championship.
But won't there always be a dispute wherever you draw the line?
Oh,
whether
yeah.
It's 4 or 8 or
There will be.
16. Whoever is just outside of it will be upset.
But where does it come from now, Pat? It comes from, who are the top 2? And they're usually talking about 3 or 4 teams.
Currently,
Who's going to get in the national championship? So,
They're only talking 3 now. You
Well,
don't hear them mention
Alabama,
Iowa State
Oregon,
the same
and
way.
Florida State. are
Right.
3 there.
in Ohio State, realistically, but
But they're
again,
not talking much about, I don't think.
No,
they're not.
Myers
You're
in
right.
there.
Ohio State's 4th and Baylor 5th. But if we had the 4-team playoff, then you'd get to Ohio State and Baylor will be upset because
That's
they
right.
don't
Right.
get in.
That's right.
So,
Hey, what about Wisconsin?
well,
Yeah.
let's talk about Wisconsin. We've mentioned
Okay.
Mike Hardy is from actually from Appleton, from Wisconsin. So
Yeah.
we should touch briefly on the last time we played Wisconsin, which was just heartbreaking.
31-30.
31-30. That
Fake punt.
punt.
Yeah.
Don Nordman.
Oh, I'll
Ne-
never forget
we'll
that.
never forget it, will we?
Fake
Never
punt.
forget.
Killed
That's
Yeah.
the lousiest play in football.
I've never seen so much of that.
When's the last time we did a fake punt? I mean,
I
on
was-
the other team.
I kept waiting for it.
Yeah, me too. I kept that one.
It would make me feel better if we saw it before the season was over.
I was reminded this week, it's not a fake punt, but it was a fake field goal. There's been discussion
Yeah.
about Mike Meyer is now, he scored 5 points Saturday, he's now second at all time on
Yes.
the
Yeah.
scoring. He passed up Rob Howland. Well, he's way behind Nate Kading,
Nate.
who has 373 points.
Yeah.
But 6 of those came on a fake field goal, I think at Ohio State, where they snapped the ball into the holder pitched it over his head, and Nate caught it and ran it in for a touchdown.
Oh, no.
Wasn't that at Ohio State?
Yeah, right, it was.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, you mean?
Oh, well, whenever Nate was playing. It's a long,
Oh, you mean Nate was playing? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you meant Meyer. Okay.
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
Nate.
Oh my.
Nate's 373 points only include 367 kicking points.
Well, he deserves to be the number 1.
Yeah.
He won a lot of games for us. Nate
He's a
did.
neat guy. It's
Yeah.
nice to have him back in town.
It is, yeah. Class act.
But back to Wisconsin. While we're talking about Wisconsin, Earl mentioned earlier the running back they've got, Melvin Gordon, who
Yeah.
verbally committed to us, and then,
But he's fat. He's fast.
well, Wisconsin runs what they call a jet sweep,
Mm-hmm.
which is a running back taken off like heck around end with a pitch from the quarterback. And Gordon, so far this year, has gained 1,012 yards and scored 11 touchdowns, and
Wow.
their starting running back, James White, who we also recruited, has gained 672 more. So between the two of them, they've gained almost 1,700 yards so far. And
And James White has done a marvelous job since he was a true
Yeah.
freshman.
Yeah,
He played.
Where's he from?
I don't know.
I'm thinking he's.
Now, where
He's
have
a senior now.
Yes.
White is.
Oh,
what have they lost? They lost to Ohio State, right?
In Arizona State. They're
In
5-2.
Arizona.
Yeah, they really beat Arizona State, but the
Yeah.
referees took it away from them.
That's right.
Okay.
yeah.
So,
But who else have they beat?
Don't know. Don't remember.
Have they played either one of the Michigan teams?
Probably not, because
No.
they're in our division.
Yeah.
No, they have
Michigan
not.
and Michigan State are in the Legend
Oh,
division.
we have
with
to
us.
play the two Michigan teams.
Well, they're in our division.
Until next year. Then they
Yeah.
go over to the
Then-
other
Then they
division.
switch,
Yeah.
and Wisconsin comes, we're gonna be, next year, the leaders and legends
Right.
rides off into the sunset, and it
Yes.
turns into east and west. And-
Well, Wisconsin, they've got a great rushing attack and an average quarterback who's not a scrambler. He's a pro style. And that's probably a good thing for us, but if we stop the rushing attack, that's the key.
That's it. I feel we have a better chance against them because of our defense. And what I can read, they don't have much of a passer.
But
We
they're only
stopped
giving
Ohio
up.
State. If it wasn't for Ohio State's passing and the quarterback running the ball.
Well, Wisconsin's defense is only giving up 88 yards rushing per game. So I think both defensive lines are going to be pretty tough.
Where are they ranked?
I don't know.
They're 22nd in one poll and 23rd in the
Okay.
other.
No, but I
Nation.
meant in
Oh,
defense.
Oh,
That
I see
don't know.
we're ranked 14th this
that I
week.
don't know.
Yeah.
You know, again, talking about our defense, we've only given up in 8 games 5 touchdowns to teams that have been inside the red zone, the 20-yard line, which leads the country. It's
Okay.
number one in the country.
See,
Now,
those things-
part of that is because we've given up some long
Some
passes.
bombs, that's what.
Yeah, that's right. However, if we don't
A little
have
misleading.
a quarterback that good, I mean, all those long passes were from some pretty good quarterbacks.
Where's the West?
Very true. Yeah.
Coaching now. They moved him up.
For Iowa?
Yeah.
Reese Morgan?
Yeah.
He's now the defensive line coach.
There you are.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, there you are.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Great coach.
Great-
Absolutely,
Great.
that's right.
Great person.
He's a coach we don't want to see retire because there's talk about, because of his age, he's in his early 60s, how much
But
longer will
he's
Reese
a
Morgan.
great coach, and it shows wherever he
That's
goes.
right, because,
Yeah.
and the kids respect him.
That's
and they
right.
do
Like
what
to
he
keep him
says.
around.
You
Right.
gotta keep telling him about Bill Snyder, who's still coaching in his 70s.
There you go. That's a good approach.
But at some age, and Bill Snyder is obviously an exception, it's just a mind-numbing job of hard work. Those guys never quit.
Lot of
They get
hours.
a couple breaks short, very short during the year, but
Yeah.
I mean, they're working over there from sun up to midnight during the season, every day.
Even after the games, they have
right.
meetings.
Well, they're trying to recruit at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Reese has done a really nice job. Now, some of it is because we've got personnel on that defensive line that have got a little more experience. But and talking about coaches who have done a nice job, they moved Reese from offensive line
Yes.
coach to defensive, and the offensive line is doing well under Brian Ferentz's.
Yeah. That's right.
Yes, no, good point. I think he's doing one hell of a good job.
Yeah, he is.
Well, yeah, our offensive line has certainly been one of the bright spots.
Guy who's really looked good, I think, is Blythe.
Yes.
He pulls out sometimes.
Yes.
And blocks on the edge. I think Buffelli's having a nice year. We've been rotating Jordan Walsh and Andrew Donnell at right guard. This is very much an aside, by the way. But speaking of Andrew Donnell, his younger brother is 6'10", and a freshman on the Michigan basketball team this year.
Oh, my. Wow.
I met him at the Northern Iowa game. He's standing in line at a concession window, and
Kind of stood out, didn't
almost goes to the top of the window. So it'd be interesting to see how much he plays.
he? Yeah.
I don't know if Fran tried to recruit him or he looked at us at all or not.
Now, I do feel that this is the toughest game we've got
Do you?
tomorrow,
Toughest one all year or toughest one left?
all year.
Ooh, boy, Ohio State.
Well,
I'd
They-
pick Ohio State.
I'm not saying they're not,
Yeah.
but they sure wasn't against us.
Oh, okay.
Well, it'll be plenty tough Saturday,
Yes.
that's for sure. Wisconsin always plays us tough, but we always seem to have close games and we match up well.
Now,
Yeah.
we're
Over
at
the
this
years.
31-30 score. Was that last?
That was
two
2010.
years ago.
when they beat us on the play with the fake punt.
Right.
The last time we played
Right.
in Iowa City. That's
But that's getting
one to
hard.
let them take the trophy home, the Heartland Trophy, which they'll have to bring back to the sideline Saturday.
We've been pretty well on trophy games this year.
We have.
Got the pig back from Minnesota, and we got the Iowa State Cy Hawk Trophy. So we just need to get the Heartland, right?
Yeah,
From
well,
Wisconsin?
there's now a Heroes Trophy with Nebraska. We've
Yeah.
Well, let's get them both.
probably got too many trophy games.
Yeah, that's right.
All I know,
But we
The
can
pig.
beat, we can beat Nebraska.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Right.
We could beat anybody.
Yeah,
we play
right.
well.
That's right.
It's not impossible.
No.
Yeah,
We win them all. It's not impossible we lose them all either.
Yes.
that's
Now,
right.
the one we have to look out for is
Indiana, Purdue.
Purdue.
Purdue, everybody's saying that they've already
Oh,
given
yeah.
us that win, and Purdue.
Well, but look
Purdue
at
will be
Michigan's takeover
trying
up
to
there.
knock us
only.
off.
Purdue's thinking we can get this one. We can get the Hawks too.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah,
They're-
game at a time, as
There's
they
no
say.
easy ones. There's no easy
Who's
ones.
their quarterback? Purdue's.
I don't know.
I don't remember what the name is, but I mean, one of the things that Kirk is just excellent at, and he's sometimes successful in convincing the fans to do this, but he has his team playing literally one game at a time. And you hear the kids at a press conference, and that's the message one of the messages that comes out, and obviously it's coming from Kirk, because that's his philosophy. And he's right.
Yeah,
He
and
is, that's right.
I think they've been playing that
Yeah, I
way,
do.
and that's why we're improving every.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about basketball, Pat? We going to talk about that? Or?
Yeah, let's touch on it briefly at least. But November is the time of year when there are more games than any human being has time to go to, because basketball start for about a month. Both
Yeah.
basketball and football start up, and this Sunday,
This Sunday, there's a game.
2 games. There's a doubleheader. They're both exhibition games. The Iowa women have an exhibition game with Concordia, which is a smaller school in St. Paul, where incidentally Cash Alexander is on the coaching staff, so she'll be in the arena Sunday. That game is at 1 o'clock, and then, assuming it ends at 3, a half hour between games, the men play Augustana from the Quad Cities at 3:30. And both of them have 4 or 5 home games throughout November. They just keep coming, but they kick off this Sunday.
Yeah.
When do they start counting?
I think it
After
is
November.
next, the following Friday,
The 8th.
the 8th, where there's another doubleheader. Both men and women have
Is
a
that
game.
an exhibition or is that
No,
the start
that's
of the season?
Regular season.
Okay.
Okay.
Starts the night before we play Purdue on the road.
Yes.
And we
Okay.
play Notre Dame.
Yeah, the men play Notre Dame.
That's because the
In
Rutgers.
December.
Well, no, Notre Dame in basketball has now joined the Atlantic
That's it.
Coast Conference,
That-
and it's part of the Big Ten ACC Challenge. I mean, somebody from each league gets together and they try to match up games that are going to bring out fans, and
I
their
knew
number
we'd
one
get 'em
goal is to get on TV.
Sooner or later, even though they didn't want to play us in it.
But that's like December 3rd or something, isn't it? It's in
You know, I don't remember.
it's in the first week of December. We
Don't
play
remember
Notre
the
Dame.
date. It's actually gotten even more of an interesting matchup historically speaking, and Fran coached there, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And his new director of
And he
basketball
married there.
operations,
He married there.
married a Notre Dame center.
Yeah,
And his new director of basketball operations was a Notre Dame player,
Yeah,
Billy Taylor.
Yeah.
oh,
Was he good? Good at
You know,
quarterback?
I don't remember. Fran, I remember.
Uh-huh.
Fran from Philadelphia was called White Magic, and Lewis Lloyd, who was also from Philadelphia and played at Drake, was called Black Magic.
I'll be darned.
They both came out of Philadelphia. And Lewis Lloyd was awfully good.
Oh, my goodness,
I
yeah.
assume Fran was pretty good to
Yeah.
Yeah,
get the same nickname. But it'll be an interesting season. I mean, one of the things Fran appears poised to do again this year is one of the things that everybody, all the analysts, most coaches say you can't do, which is go with a 10 or 11
Mhm.
player rotation. I mean, conventional wisdom is you need to get down to 7 or 8, or in a worst case scenario 9. Fran's playing more than that.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
did it very successfully.
Yeah.
depth is our strength,
Yeah. They stay in shape.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they got to be in good shape.
Yeah, of course.
But they can get more rest when you're playing 10 or
That's right.
11 as opposed
Yeah,
to 8
that's
or
right.
9. Be fresh at the end, you know?
Heard Gabe Olashini this week even suggest that he might log some time at the power forward position with he and Woodbury on the court at the same time, and that would be pretty
Boy,
imposing.
that'd be some size,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
yeah. 7'1" and 6'10", and of course it'll be very interesting to see Jared Uthoff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody who sees practice, and this was evident in the games they played in Europe, Peter Jock, who's the only freshman on the team, may be the best shooter we've got.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, see they're ranked too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the first time in a long time, isn't it?
I had a friend email me, talking about, he's a Michigan fan, talking about the Michigan State football game this weekend, but he put a footnote saying he was afraid Michigan State was the cream of the crop and likely to win the Big Ten basketball championship. And I had the great pleasure, I haven't been able to do this in a long time, to email him back and say, don't count us out.
yes, I agree.
We may be in the mix.
I think we will be in the mix. I have an old college buddy who lives in Chicago, and I told him that a couple of weeks ago. He about dropped the phone. But I really believe that this team can contend for the Big Ten championship. I agree with you, Pat.
One of the reasons is that we're so much faster.
And deeper, Murph.
Yeah, but they all move. I contend, and I think I'm right. We are faster.
Well, when's the last time that an Iowa basketball team had this many
Now, I know I was talking football.
athletes?
I'm sorry,
Athletes.
but maybe.
Well, I think they both are.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
One of my predictions, it's always dangerous to offer predictions, preseason basketball, is that Adam Woodbury will be vastly improved.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be stronger.
Taller.
He'll score. Well, I don't think he's any taller.
Isn't they said so the other day?
He may be able to jump a little higher,
That's all right.
because I strength and training.
I think he's filled out.
Probably added some muscle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he needs.
I think he'll be an all Big Ten caliber
Yeah.
player. The guy that Roy Williams was trying to steal from Iowa is
Got to be a talent.
got to be a talent.
Yep.
And, he had a decent year.
Who's that?
Adam
Woodbury last year.
Oh,
I
thought.
think probably the truth is we were a little disappointed because our expectations were too high.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, after all, a freshman playing against some
But it ain't
NBA.
too shabby to go ahead and be in the IT finals.
No, it was very, very impressive finish.
That's true.
Yeah, that's some good basketball.
That's right.
I'm personally not convinced Devin Marble's a point guard, but he certainly did well there last year, and Fran has made it clear he intends to play him there.
Well, one of the great things about this team is there's probably, out of the 11 players that are going to play, 10 or 11, there's 8 of them that can play 2 or 3 positions.
Yeah.
They can play a 1,
Yeah.
2, or 3,
They are
or they can
versatile.
play a 3 or 4. And that versatility and having that many good athletes, that's pretty rare. We haven't seen that here for a while.
Yeah, in taking Devin as an example, he's going to start at point guard, but he could easily play 2 or
3,
3.
yeah.
Very easily.
Yeah.
So
Well, it really helps out when, on the fouls, when you get fouled.
Exactly, yeah.
This is what's really gonna help out.
You've got a lot of players you can move around when we get in
Yeah.
those situations, but, you know, and we will. We will be put in those situations.
now the women's team, I think, also has the potential to be very, very good. They have the unanswered question is who's going to play power forward, and they've got some candidates. Callie Peschel, who played 2 and 3 last year, young lady from Minnesota. Claire Till from Dubuque played a little bit of power forward last year and did a decent job rebounding, and I think she's developing a shot. And the one that's the biggest surprise that's actually competing to play Summit power forward is Allie Disterhoff from West
Yeah.
High.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when she started for West as a freshman, she was about as thin as a pencil. And to think that she's now got a shot at playing power forward in the Big Ten, I mean, she's very talented.
Well, she's still very thin, though, right?
She's pretty thin.
Yeah, I mean, that's
But
tough in the
there's
Big
a
Ten.
girl who took her high school team to the state
Yeah,
championship
oh, yeah.
playing point guard,
Yeah.
is now competing to play power forward.
Well, there again, there's another gal that can play 3 positions. 1, 2, or 3.
But they have Samantha Logic, also from Wisconsin.
We're gonna fight.
Point guard who's coming out of high school. She was ranked as the 11th best player in the country. She can handle the ball and pass, and she's scoring under the basket, and she's actually developing a 3-point shot. She's a junior.
She's also an excellent rebounder.
Yes,
for
she
a
is.
point guard, she gets a lot of boards.
She sure does. Melissa Dixon, who may be the best shooter I've ever seen of either
Wow.
sex. My goodness, she just lights it up. And she has an unbelievably quick release.
Yes.
Now,
She
where are
came
they
off the
ranked?
bench last year as a sixth.
As far as the Big Ten.
Sixth.
She was the sixth
person
player of the year in the Big Ten. And she'll start this year.
Yeah, she's
Probably
going to be
two.
good.
You know, Bud, I'm not sure. There was a poll at the preseason coaches meeting, but I don't remember where we were ranked. I would certainly put us in the top 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Will the
Michigan
lack of
State
size hurt us?
Yes, yeah, I think it will. But I think as a result, we'll see a slight difference in the way our offense lines up. We'll
Could always have a 4-guard offense.
Lisa has used what she calls a 4-out offense in the past,
Okay.
and I think she'll use some of that this year, depending on the development of whoever fits into that number 4 position.
Yeah.
But she knows
And the
what she's
size of the
doing.
other team.
Right, yes.
How much time do we have?
We have about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
We ought to touch on high school football playoffs tonight. Boy, all the local teams are at home tonight.
That's right.
Yeah.
Reflects,
First time ever.
Is it the first time ever?
1 minute.
1 minute, Pat. We're down to the nitty-gritty.
City High's at home tonight against Muscatine. West is at home tonight against Dubuque Hempstead, and Regina home tonight against Tipton, going for their 52nd consecutive
Number
win. Is that-
52, yeah.
Yeah, 52.
Did they play Tipton during the year?
No.
No.
In the same districts, but they made the districts
I knew they
bigger.
were in the same district. They didn't
But they
play.
didn't play.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we should mention that our usual moderator, Dirk, was in St. Louis Saturday night and Sunday night, even though he says that that's not why he's not feeling well, but he'll tell us about the World Series next week. So,
Yeah.
Bob, Earle, Bud, thanks very much. Good to see you. If Dirk were here, he would say either you're a Hawk or you're not. And get well, Dirk.
Amen.